as of now, and they're pretty confident in what they're capable of doing going into the season. And it's going to be very interesting to see how they manage Joel and Paul George. It's going to be very interesting to see how this team comes together with a bunch of new pieces. But with Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, and Paul George, as I've said before, I think it's the best big three in the league. And I think they've got a lot of talent. And they finally, after years of instability and uncertainty about the future, I think you can really look at this group and say, for the next couple of years, this is what their team's going to look like. And I think that has given them a lot of excitement after all the chaos they've gone through in the past.
Yeah, that's true. You know, they have had these training camps in recent years where they were uncertain what was happening and what their team was going to look like and who was going to play. And, you know, Ben Simmons not showing up, Harden not showing up, or, you know, having the trade demand. But Embiid, I think, talked today about load management, or I don't know how you want to frame it. We often hear this sort of stuff in October, but what did he say about what his intentions are this year?
I mean, he gave a typically Joel tongue-in-cheek comment where Keith Pompey from the Inquirer asked him, how hard is it going to be to not play and be careful about your body? And he was like, it's going to be hard. And if they want to punch me and slap me and try to take my stuff away from me, I'm going to get mad and I might yell, but I'll understand what they're trying to do. And like, look, the bottom line is Joel showed up down. He said he's down 25 to 30 pounds. I don't know what he's down exactly, but he looks really good. And this whole season, pretty clearly, is going to be about having Paul George and Joel Embiid as healthy as possible on April 15th. And that is going to be the focus for this team. They went out this summer and signed Andre Drummond. Joel personally recruited Andre Drummond to come back. He's, in my opinion, probably, if not the best backup center in the league, one of the best backup centers in the league. He's a guy who can play 30 minutes as a starter.
Best rebounder
when
of all
Joel
time.
Doesn't play. Best rebounder of all time, in his own words, the other day. And they've got Caleb Martin. They've got Kelly Oubre. They've got Eric Gordon. Like, they actually have a pretty good amount of wing depth, considering they had two players on the roster on July 1st when free agency opened. So they're going to try their best to have those guys healthy and get through the year. And look, we talk all the time on the pod about the injury slider. If you turn the injury slider off for the Sixers, you'd love their team. But the truth is, the injury question is going to hang over them, and they're cognizant of that, and that's going to be a huge focus throughout the year, is trying to get to April 15th with this group fully healthy and ready to go, and then they'll take their chances from there.
I was going to say, when Embiid's sitting there on media day talking about it's not about MVPs, it's not about awards, he's saying, guys, I'm not playing 65 games this year, right? And
yes,
then
that seems like a safe bet.
They'll manage Paul George similarly. That's a hard word to say for some reason. So, but the thing about that is, yes, you want those guys healthy and fresh for the playoffs, but this is also a team, like, bringing in Paul George, there has to be chemistry built. Paul George is going into a major adjustment here. He's never played with a big like Embiid. He's never played on a team where the offense was running through a big. Just those guys building chemistry together along with Maxey, that's got to be factored into the whole load management thing. You want those guys playing together a lot, but then at the same time, you can't be resting PG and Embiid. I mean, maybe they can just punt games, but at a certain point, seeding is going to be important as well. So it'll be very interesting to see how all that is handled.
So Barkley and some other people got on Embiid for being out of shape in the playoffs last year. And obviously at times in his career, he's carried more pounds than is ideal. I don't know how he was supposed to get into great shape when he had
a knee injury and missed the 2 months before the playoffs and was barely able to run. So that's certainly one time where I would put that to the side.
Right. So, but however, he has come back, he's in good shape. Talk about Luka's shape in a little bit here, because, another guy who played for his national team this summer, looks like he's come in good shape. I just think, in fairness, so he didn't seem like he had lost that much. He maybe lost a little bit of weight with Team USA, but I don't think it was like remarkable. So
I think it's been after that.
Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty, to lose 20 pounds. And how long ago has that been? Less than 2 months?
Well,
Not too much.
I don't know. I don't want to speculate as to when he lost whatever pounds, but I didn't look at him at Team USA. If you remember, he was a little bit sluggish starting Team USA.
Yeah.
And he and it wasn't because he was really out of shape, but he really hadn't been doing much because he'd been resting his knee. So, and if you remember, and Bontemps talked about at the time, he was a little sluggish to start the Team USA and then the training camp, and then he got COVID. They didn't announce it as COVID. They just said he was sick, but I'm pretty sure he had COVID. He was traveling separate from the team. So I don't know if they tested him. They probably didn't test him, but they kind of thought that that's what he had.
Right.
So then he got sick early in the Olympics. And then when push came to shove, he was pretty good, but he wasn't in tip top condition to start that. So I don't know how he did it, but he's done it. And, he's at least saying the right things. I think that depth that you point out is relevant, Bontemps, because one of the things that we're looking at with the Knicks in the wake of this trade, and Karl Towns was at practice on Thursday in Charleston, and I think right as we're doing this podcast, he's supposed to be talking for the first time, so we'll see what he says there. But you look at the Knicks, and their depth is just really depleted with these deals, and Philly, as you said, is really built out with what in October looks like a deeper team. And, I don't know if the Knicks will be as resilient to injury as the Sixers can be in injury and rest. Which,
the other thing,
Tibbs doesn't care about depth, but Tibbs' team also fell apart last year in the playoffs. And you can argue maybe there might be some correlation between those things. Pretty good use of correlation, by the way.
That is very good use of correlation. And the other thing is Philly has a lot more stuff to trade still. They've got KJ Martin on an $8 million essentially human trade exception to use. They've got several first-round picks to trade. They've got some young players they can move. Mm-hmm. The Knicks basically have their 6 or 7 core rotation players and not much else to move. So, Philly is arguably deeper now and can do some more stuff. And, like we've talked about, the Knicks have their own injury questions. Let's see how many games OG Anunoby can play. Let's see how many games Karl Towns can play. Those are 2 critical pieces that have had a pretty extensive injury history at this point.
Let's see when Mitchell Robinson's back and what he looks like when he does return. Exactly.
There's another massive question. So, injuries always are a factor for anybody. And for these 2 teams, as we look at these, especially these 3 teams in the Northeast a lot this year, we got Porzingis out for at least a couple months. You've got the injury questions about the past stuff with the Knicks. And, with both Joel and Paul George, it's going to be a constant thing throughout the year. How are those guys feeling? Where are they going to be at come playoff time? Because, again, if these 3 teams are all healthy come April, which I certainly hope they are, we're going to have some incredible series. But with the histories of everybody involved, a lot of this could just come down to who's left standing at the end of the day.
If you have ever thought about remodeling your bathroom but were worried it would take too long or cost too much, then stop worrying. Right now, Jacuzzi Bath Remodel has designed a collection of high-quality custom products and perfected the one-day remodeling experience so you can enjoy your new bathroom faster than ever before. It's a worry-free bath remodel from the most trusted brand name in the business, Jacuzzi. A jacuzzi bath system fits in your existing tub space. It's a no-mess installation with an amazing style selection, factory-certified installers, and a limited lifetime warranty. Call 800-717-4599. That's 800-717-4599 right now and get 50% off installations with no interest and no payments for 12 months. Replace that old bathtub today with a walk-in shower for a safer bathing experience. If you have lived in your home for over 15 years, it's time to remodel your bathroom. For a virtual or in-home appointment, call 800-717-4599. That's 800-717-4599. 800-717-4599.
You have year-end goals. Constant Contact has what it takes to help you meet them faster. Sell more, raise more, and build real relationships with your audience with Constant Contact's digital marketing tools, all made to fast-track your success. Put the go in your 2024 goals with email, social, SMS, and customized marketing campaigns built for you in just a few clicks. Ready, set, go to ConstantContact.com and start your free trial today.
Hi, I'm Jason Alexander, or as you probably know me, Royal Flusher 25 from WSOP Free-to-Play app. WSOP players, I have some free chips just for you. Go hit the tables like the legends you are. Download the WSOP free-to-play app where you can win rings and bracelets and tournaments and show them off to everyone at the table.
If you love poker, play poker with 1 million extra chips using this promo code, WSOPFREE1M.
Great days start with great underwear, and Tommy John makes the greatest. With Tommy John, you make each day better than the last. How? Because greatness is in our very fabric. And with 4 times the stretch of competing brands, Tommy John's the undeniable MVP of your underwear drawer. Meticulously crafted from custom breathable fabrics, Tommy John underwear isn't just premium, they're a cut above. Silky, soft, and so luxurious, you'll miss them when they're in the wash. With over 20 million pairs sold and thousands of 5-star reviews, guys everywhere love their Tommy John. That's why Tommy John doesn't have customers, they have fanatics. Like this one, who raves, "New favorite underwear. I don't want to wear anything else." Plus, your most valuable assets are fully covered with Tommy John's best pair you'll ever wear or its free guarantee. Grab 25% off your first order now at TommyJohn.com/stream. Save 25% for a limited time at TommyJohn.com/stream. See site for details.
org/donate.
All right, so let's go from the Northeast to the Southeast with the Miami Heat. You spent some time with them this week there in Nassau. I remember going to Nassau for the Heat after they won their second title before the 2013-14 season. I actually visited the Spurs training camp that year and the Heat training camp 2 days later. And that was the year where the Spurs were like still chewing glass. And then I remember
that was incredible. You should retell the story about, because people probably don't remember it, about what they did at the beginning of that season, the Spurs.
Well, I was told, I was dispatched to go to San Antonio and go ask the Spurs about losing Game 6. And it was like, oh my God, like this is not the easiest assignment of all time because, Pop was not exactly loquacious about it in the wake of it. Mm-hmm. And so I show up there at the facility for media day and I'm I got to ask these questions. And like Pop couldn't have been more of an open book, like completely and 100% embraced it. I don't remember the exact quote, so I'm not going to try off the top of my head, but admitted how big of a failure it was. Duncan talked about it. I think the French national team had just won the European Championship, Eurobasket, and Tony Parker, I think, still had a little champagne on his breath. I think he was sort of in a different mood. But all their guys straight down the line, Ginobili talked about it. They were totally ready to handle it and deal with it. Kawhi said nothing as usual. Kawhi just grunted. But I was blown away by the way the Spurs approached it. And I remember they were then going to the Air Force Academy. They had training camp at the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, where Pop went to college. I didn't go to that. I saw him in San Antonio, but so they're at the Air Force Academy up in the up the mountains. Pop put him through the paces. Probably saying Game 6, Game 6, Game 6. I go over to the Heat in Nassau, and I remember coming into their first practice at Atlantis in the Bahamas, and Buffalo Soldier was blasting from the speaker system. They were LeBron and Dwayne were totally just dancing, having fun. I remember talking to Ray Allen. He just relived that first practice. He relived Game 6 and the shot over again. And in the span of 2 days, I saw both sides of it. And sure enough, the season ended with the Spurs pummeling the Heat, taking them down. But anyway, I have that memory of when the Heat were in Nassau. So what is the mood around the Heat in this trip to the Bahamas?
The Heat are in a really interesting spot because, like we've talked about before, over the last 5 years, They've been in the conference finals 3 times, the NBA finals twice. And in 4 of the last 5 years, they've been an underdog in the first round.
Yeah.
Which, when you put that together, it's a very hard thing to square. And for most of the past 5 years, they have done all that stuff with guys in and out of the lineup. There's been very rare periods of time in there when they've had all of Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, et cetera, all healthy and available and playing. Kyle Lowry, when he was there, now he's obviously with the Sixers. He was in and out of the lineup with some injury stuff. Terry Rozier gets traded there last year. He's supposed to be a key piece. He basically doesn't play because of a neck injury after that. So, obviously, we saw Jimmy Butler show up to media day late. He got here to the Bahamas fine. He's with the team. Everything's been fine this week. But I think we're going to see over the next few months, so I guess it's 4 months till the trade deadline? I think between now and the trade deadline, the Heat are really going to be studying this group and trying to figure out, what is this team? Is this team capable of being a top 4 or 5 team in the East and really go into battle with Philadelphia, Boston, New York, Milwaukee, et cetera? Or are they lesser than that? And are they not going to be competing on the same level with those teams? And as a result of that, what does their future look like? What does the future look like with Jimmy Butler? What does it look like with Tyler Hero? What does it look like across the board? I think they have a lot of really basic existential questions to ask about this team. And I also think they don't really have a ton of information, despite the fact that they've been together this long, as to what this group can really do. And so it's going to be very interesting to me to see who they start, because they're going to start Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo and Terry Rozier. And I think the other 2 spots are a little bit up in the air. And then what does that group look like as the season progresses? And are they actually a real threat in the East? And if not, what does that mean come early February when the trade deadline rolls around?
Yeah.
You're leaving out you're leaving out something unsaid there.
Which is?
I mean, you said it before.
Which is?
What their options are if they want to go the other way.
Well, and that's, again, Jimmy Butler's going to be a free agent next summer. He has not been extended. So that's the question looming over all of it. There's what are they proof is Jimmy, what player is Jimmy at this point, and what team are the Heat at this point? That's one of the big questions, I think, in the entire Eastern Conference.
Well, and just the whole Jimmy Butler situation bears monitoring, right? I don't know. I guess, the guy had trouble getting to media day, and then it was told to people he's not going to make it, and he shows up late, and the hair was normal, but he's all business. But dude, that coming off of the stuff last year, Pat Riley calling him out. Jimmy has a history of uncomfortable exits. Can we just say?
Sure.
So that whole situation is blamable. And maybe Jimmy follows through on what he says, and it's hey, contract year. This is a prove it type of year for him, and he's all business, and nobody questions his ability to play the game and impact winning when he's on the floor. But if you talk to people around the league and you say, okay, hey, who's the next big name or star caliber player who gets traded? There's at least eyes on Jimmy Butler. Now, I don't know what the trade market would be for him. That would be an interesting thing, especially as difficult as it is for contending teams to make big money deals, with the new CBA rules and all that stuff. But the Jimmy Butler situation in Miami and what might be his last year in Miami or his last half year in Miami could go a lot of different directions. It could, Jimmy's proven he can carry a team to the finals, and you have to at least say it's within the realm of possibility, but it's not the most likely scenario.
A few things on the Heat. One, as far as I know, I think Jimmy Butler wants to be in Miami. His goal is to get another contract from the Heat. He also, I think, has a player option in his contract, which
he does.
I think his intention probably is to waive and become a free agent, but he still has that out there where he remain. Second thing is that Eric Spoelstra said, even though Jimmy was late on media day and overseas, that he has been around the team a lot over the summer, and he has spent a lot of time with Spoelstra and working in the gym. In fact, for two guys who have butted heads on a number of occasions, Spoelstra talked relatively effusively about how he's learned Jimmy over the last 6 years, and they've gotten to a place where they know how to work with each other. So while the optics of Jimmy being late to media day were not good, Spoelstra kind of made it clear that he is coming into camp in a good place, and that he actually was able to do a lot of work. He had to recover from those. He's had so many injuries over the last couple of years. I've even lost track of what he was bothering him at the end of last season. But he took some time off to deal with those injuries. But he was able to do a lot of work with the Heat over the summer. So I do think that Jimmy is coming into camp in a good place, at least with Eric Spoelstra, with his teammates, with Pat Riley, who I don't think was down with Jimmy wanting an extension after last year. And that's not even, I don't think I know because he said it as much, basically.
Listen, you didn't have to read too far between the lines of Pat Riley's comments in exit interviews last year. He basically told Jimmy to shut up and play basketball. And that's not a direct quote, but it's not far from it.
I will look up the direct quote while you're talking because it was worth repeating, but it was funny.
Evan, Canty, and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
It was great, Pat, when you were a kid, right? You went to Carnival, you won a goldfish that died in like 2 days?
This is abusing the reptile community?
Jose knows me.
Oh, yeah. I was like, I know that.
I had 2 goldfish that I won at a carnival. They only lasted like 5 days, but it was a glorious 5 days for Jose and Jose.
And you had fun at the carnival, right?
I had a great time.
Unsportsmanlike. Weekday mornings starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control of your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problem now by calling the experts at U.S. Tax Shield and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, so call now. 800-687-5192. That's 800-687-5192. U.S. Tax Shield. 800-687-5192.
Hiring for your small business? If you're not looking for professionals on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. That's like looking for your car keys in a fish tank. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't even visit other leading job sites. So start looking in the right place. With LinkedIn, you can hire professionals like a professional. Post your free job on linkedin.com/message today.
Hey, just the socks. Thanks.
Great. Name, birthday, email address, shipping address, billing address. How many fire hydrants do you see? How'd you hear about us? Can we text you?
Forget it.
If your online store doesn't use Shopify for checkout, your customers will just, check out. Shopify has the world's best converting checkout, up to 36% better than other leading e-commerce platforms. That means fewer abandoned carts and more for your business. So switch to Shopify at shopify.com/play and get a $1 trial. Shopify.com/play.
College football fans, what's the best part of being at a game live? The color. There's nothing more exciting than seeing an entire stadium completely decked out in your team's colors. So why not add to that and put yourself right in the middle of it all? Because that color encompasses everything, from the tailgating and the fight songs to the marching band halftime shows. So let your true colors show and get ready to yell and cheer until you're blue in the face by scoring tickets today at Ticketmaster. Get tickets today at Ticketmaster.com.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Center.
I'm Dave Mager. The Mets are still the comeback kids. The Phillies, Zach Wheeler, 7 innings of one-hit shutout ball, but he came out, and the Mets scored 5 times in the 8th. It was tied at 1 for Brandon Nimmo with 2 men on.
Swing and a line drive, base hit left field. Here comes Lindor, and the Mets have the lead. Nimmo.
John Shambi, ESPN Radio. Mets win 6-2. In another game 1, Lane Thomas a 3-run shot as Cleveland shut out Detroit 7-0. Gleyber Torres a 2-run shot. Yankees lead Kansas City 2-1 in the 4th. San Diego at the Dodgers later. LA's Clayton Kershaw out for the season. College football, less than 3 minutes left, and Vanderbilt leading number 1 Alabama 40-28. Cedric Alexander, 2 touchdown runs. Diego Pavia, 2 touchdown throws. It's been 40 years since the Commodores beat Alabama. Missouri at Texas A&M. Big day for Aggies. Running back Le'Veon Moss.
It's a handoff up the middle in a big hole. 35, 40. Makes a man miss. Le'Veon Moss. This just may be a race to the end zone. That is won by Le'Veon. 75 yards.
Andrew Monaco on Learfield. Texas A&M wins 41-10. Moss 138 on the ground, 3 touchdowns. Ohio State wiped out Iowa 35-7. It was Georgia 31, Auburn 13. Ole Miss beat South Carolina 27-3. The Saints, Taysom Hill out for Monday against Kansas City.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Monday, Patrick Mahomes might be missing some of his weapons, but I'll tell you why it won't matter when he faces the Saints. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
All right, let's head to the South and Nashville, where you were for a few days this week, McMahon. You were with the Grizzlies, and I got to tell you guys, like, it's your email too. Like, every few days, it seems like I get an email from the Memphis Grizzlies, and in all capital letters, it sticks out like a sore thumb. It says Memphis Grizzlies medical update. And you're like, oh my God, what now? Like, even in August, I'm getting them. And sure enough, first day of training camp, McMahon, Memphis Grizzlies medical update.
No, there wasn't that. There wasn't. This one didn't rise to it, but it was.
Essentially, though.
Yeah, it was. We go over there, and Taylor Jenkins was the last one to talk to the group, and at the end, he's like, basically, quick medical update. Jaren Jackson Jr. Experienced hamstring tightness on a drive to the basket, basically pulled him out of practice. And at the time, he said he's going to get imaging, and we're anticipating it might be a strain. Well, he went and got the MRI, and the MRI, all things considered, was good news. It's a strain, but it's Taylor called it a low-grade strain. I was told it's a very minor strain. And they don't think this is anything.
Is there such thing as a minor hamstring strain?
Well, I'll put it like this. They don't think it's anything that will affect his availability for the season opener. You know, like, obviously they'll be cautious, and we'll see if he's playing in any preseason games. They don't know. But the exact phrase from Taylor when I asked him that was no concerns about the season opener. Okay. But look, dude, they went into camp, and Vince Williams Jr. is probably not going to be ready for the season because he's dealing with a stress fracture in a leg. Gigi Jackson, who I don't know how many minutes he'd have gotten if they're fully healthy, but certainly an intriguing prospect coming off a second-team All-Rookie campaign. He's going to be out for a while, coming off of foot surgery. He's on a boot in a boot and on a scooter right now, and the Grizzlies are in an interesting place. It was interesting to hear John Morant, because we're a season and a half removed from I'm fine in the West and all that bravado. And obviously that didn't end well. And then last year was just a disaster for Memphis, a lost season for a variety of reasons. But it's not a slogan and it ain't going to sell T-shirts and lead Sports Center. But what he said is we all feel like we ain't done anything yet. And I'm paraphrasing there. You can imagine what anything was. And I just thought that was kind of an interesting peek into the way that they've been humbled. And Taylor Jenkins used that exact word, humbled. And it's not just humbled by last year when they won 27, they only won 27 games. Obviously, you talk about Memphis Grizzlies medical updates. I mean, I think if you do a search, you're going to have to click through several times to see them all.
There were games last year where they had more players unavailable. I don't know if they were all inactive, but they had more players unavailable than available.
There were a lot of games like that.
Yeah, they would have to screenshot the tweets of their injury list last year because it was too many characters on pretty much a consistent basis. And then obviously, look, Ja's suspension certainly didn't help matters.
He basically has barely played basketball since that quote.
Yeah, he played
a few dozen games, right?
Yeah, he played 9 games total last year. He did play 1 round of the playoffs the year before, but again, the humbling started then. The humbling started when they were blown out by 40 in a Game 6 elimination at the hands of the Lakers, who had some fun at the Grizzlies' expense. I forgot what. The Lakers in the locker room. I remember sitting there in the visiting interview room, and the Lakers' locker room is not far down the hall, and you could hear them loudly chanting, "Whoop that trick! Whoop that trick!" So the humbling's not just last year. This is going back. The last time.
Yeah, that was Dylan Brooks, Poke the Bear, etc.
Oh yeah, all that stuff. And they've got their core 3 still together. I'm talking about John Morant, Desmond Bane, and Jaren Jackson Jr. That's a core 3 that has had home court advantage in the first round, has won, well over 50 games a couple of different times. But there's a lot of change around that, including almost Taylor Jenkins' entire coaching staff. And they are changing their offensive system. They hired the guy who was the head coach at Paris Basket, and I'm gonna botch his name, so I'm just gonna say the guy who was considered one of the sharpest, maybe the sharpest offensive mind, young offensive mind in European basketball. They're installing his system, and Taylor said they're going to be. I think he said a continuous movement organism was the way he put it. And it's interesting because, I asked him, how do you balance wanting all this movement on ball, the ball movement, off ball movement, with having one of the best dribble creators in the league? And so that's something they're figuring out. They're talking about pace. How does a 7'4", slim down to 290-pound rookie center fit into that equation?
He does look definitely slimmed down, though.
He looks slim, and they've said they've been impressed with the way that he's running the floor. Talking about Zach Edey, obviously, and to me, he's probably the biggest wild card for the Grizzlies season. But I would say there is a humbled sense of optimism for the Grizzlies, but they've got to prove themselves because they really haven't proven anything in terms of playoff success.
Have you? Did you make it over to the Pelicans at all?
I talked with some Pelicans folks. I didn't make a practice. The Pelicans, it's an interesting thing. Obviously, there's not a true veteran center on the roster. Daniel Tice is the closest thing to it, and he's 6'8". Zion looks good. Came back in good shape. They feel like he's in a great, headspace.
As for Brandon Ingram's headspace, I'm not so sure.
Well, listen, what they'll tell you from Ingram is, hey, the guy's being a pro, and he basically said on media day, look, I'm not expecting the contract to be done. I'm here. I'm going to be a pro. This is where I am now. And, really the best you could hope for in that situation is the guy basically saying, I'm here to do my job and let's go. Like, I'm not going to let this contract be something that lingers and is a black cloud. And that's essentially what he has said. So that's an awkward situation that Ingram doesn't seem to have any interest in making more awkward, which, again, that's best you could really hope for in that situation. Frankly, the starting lineup and whether C.J. McCollum is or is not in it has a chance to be an awkward type of situation.
Well, let me bring that myself up about that. First off, I think Ingram was talking to reporters the other day and kind of like inadvertently just sort of said what their starting lineup has been in practice, and McCollum was in it. And that's been one of the things that's kind of leaked out, is that in their workouts. Now, we have had 3 days of practice here. I'm not trying to say that it's been decided, but they've basically been going with Trey Murphy coming off the bench and McCollum in the lineup, which is a very small suspect. DeJounte Murray and McCollum basically starting together.
Well, let's call a spade about that. What's going on over the next 2.5 weeks?
Trey Murphy contract negotiations.
Ding.
Extension negotiations.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Listen, and also, come on, like, let's just be real. Trey Murphy is a part of the Pelicans' long-term future.
Right.
CJ is a part of probably ESPN's long-term future. but CJ, like, it's transaction cycle to transaction cycle for him. It's not even year to year, for him with New Orleans at this point. That's just it's nothing against him. That's just the reality of the situation. The other reality is, quite frankly, he's at the point in his career where it probably makes sense for CJ to transition into that 6-man instant offense type of role.
I mean,
especially when the other option is for a team that lacks size, the 6'9", 6'10", floor spacing young guy who is on the rise.
Great days start with great underwear, and Tommy John makes the greatest. With Tommy John, you make each day better than the last. How? Because greatness is in our very fabric. And with 4 times the stretch of competing brands, Tommy John's the undeniable MVP of your underwear drawer. Meticulously crafted from custom breathable fabrics, Tommy John underwear isn't just premium, they're a cut above. Silky, soft, and so luxurious, you'll miss them when they're in the wash. With over 20 million pairs sold and thousands of 5-star reviews, guys everywhere love their Tommy John. That's why Tommy John doesn't have customers, they have fanatics. Like this one, who raves, new favorite underwear. I don't want to wear anything else. Plus, your most valuable assets are fully covered with Tommy John's best pair you'll ever wear, or it's free guarantee. Grab 25% off your first order now at TommyJohn.com/stream. Save 25% for a limited time at TommyJohn.com/stream. See site for details.
Hi, I'm Jason Alexander, or as you probably know me, Royal Flusher 25 from WSOP free-to-play app. WSOP players, I have some free chips just for you. Go hit the tables like the legends you are. Download the WSOP free-to-play app, where you can win rings and bracelets and tournaments and show them off to everyone at the table.
If you love poker, play poker with 1 million extra chips using this promo code, WSOPFREE1M.
You have year-end goals. Constant Contact has what it takes to help you meet them faster. Sell more, raise more, and build real relationships with your audience with Constant Contact's digital marketing tools, all made to fast-track your success. Put the go in your 2024 goals with email, social, SMS, and customized marketing campaigns built for you in just a few clicks. Ready, set, go to ConstantContact.com and start your free trial today.
Hey, fans! Welcome back to Fansville's Cheers and Tears. Oh. Okay, so everybody deals with losing, right? To a rival on a last-second field goal. Whatever, it's fine. I'm totally fine. But I cope with losing with an ice-cold Dr. Pepper. Those 23 flavors are so delicious. They totally wash away the pain of your college football team taking a big fat L. College football. It's a Pepper thing.
We're brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like how you'd check that you've got your tickets first before heading to the game. Or like how you'd check you've downloaded the latest episodes of your favorite podcasts before hitting the road. Checking first is smart, and it's easy. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. Because with Allstate, you get reliable coverage and great protection. And while both can save a football game, they can also save your wallet. Visit allstate.com or call a local agent today to see how much you can save. You're in good hands with Allstate. Potential savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
I mean, listen, it would be unserious if the Pelicans go into the season with CJ McCollum starting over Trey Murphy. It would just be an unserious decision. If they're going to play this way, they need to, if they're going to play Zion at center. Now, if you want to say you need to go into the season starting Daniel Tice at center because you don't want Zion to play center full time, and then either Herb Jones or Trey Murphy, presumably, is coming off the bench, I would disagree with that, but I would at least somewhat understand why you're doing that. Mm-hmm. If you start CJ McCollum over either one of those guys, it's just unserious. Like, they have to go into the season. That I've said a few times, I think that lineup of DeJounte, Herb, Trey, Brandon Ingram, and Zion is the most interesting lineup a team can roll out there this year. I would be fascinated to see what that team looks like with a healthy, slimmed down Zion, Brandon Ingram at least saying the right things in the contract year, Herb Jones, one of the better perimeter defenders, just flat out defensive players in the league. Trey Murphy, who, if you talk to people around the league, has a ton of fans, guy who can bomb it from deep, has room to grow as a player. And then DeJounte Murray is an interesting player who's in a different situation now and seems very excited to be with the Pelicans. That's a group that I want to see play and see what they can do. If they are not running out there with that group, it's just hard to look at them and think that they've got a chance to be a real factor in the West. Whereas if that 5-man unit could turn into something, maybe do have a chance to be a factor in the West. But it's got to be having their best 5 players on the court, not messing around with this other stuff that just isn't getting them where they want to go.
Yeah, and if you're making lineup decisions based on appeasing a vet, that's a tough way to go about business when you are trying to, they've kind of steadily ticked up, but they haven't ticked out of the playoff spot. Or I'm sorry, the play-in scenario. They're trying to elevate into a guaranteed playoff berth, and you don't have time and you can't afford to be doing things you don't want to do to massage. Let's just be honest, to massage an ego. And listen, CJ has every right to have a ton of pride. He's had a great career. He's been a starter. I'd have to go back to see when the last time he came off the bench, if ever. I don't know if he ever came off the bench.
Well, by the way, him coming, you said it before, him coming off the bench is the best thing for him. Like, it's a really good role for him to come off the bench with that team, to run the offense when DeJounte isn't on the court, to space the floor when you have any of those guys come off. Like, CJ's still a great shooter. He can still run the point. He's a great vet to have around. Like, he's a very useful player still, but you can't be having him play over Herb Jones or Trey Murphy in the critical moments of the game. Like, this is the time to transition to that kind of role. And if he could do that for another 6-7 years if he wants.
Well, and the other thing here is they took not a all-in type of swing, but a pretty big swing on the DeJounte Murray deal, right? And if you're going to make a major move like that, you have to put that player in the best position to succeed. And I would say one of the things that was funky about the fit with DeJounte Murray and Trae Young is DeJounte Murray is a very good defender on point guards, but defending bigger wings and all that stuff is not his forte. He's no longer a defensive asset if he's having to defend, these bigger wings. So I think you want to stagger those guys' minutes as much as possible.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How did you get 30, 30, bit you get 30, bit you get 20, 20, 20, bit you get 20, 20, bit you get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check you have the tickets in your wallet first before you drive 2 hours to the big game. Seriously, you had one job. Now the closest you'll get to the 50-yard line is parking lot D. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
All right. So now you're in Vegas with the Mavericks. The big news from the Mavericks is that Luka has been shut down with a calf injury. He had that quad issue that he battled last year. What else was he? He
had a calf last year. It was a calf strain. Remember, he barely played. Basically, it was a Real Madrid homecoming game that they had for him.
Right.
And he only played. He kind of limped around for 5 minutes just because he didn't want to sit, but he strained his calf a day or two before that game. Obviously, he was able to come back. He didn't play at all in the preseason after that, was able to come back, played the season opener, and obviously had a phenomenal season. But he ended the season with all kinds of the knee that lingered the entire playoff run. I learned a new term during the finals, and now I forgot it. Basically, the chest contusion. I think it's thoracic.
Oh, that's right, thoracic. Yeah, I forgot about that. I will say, there were several times when he was uncomfortable with his chest. That was definitely.
He was taking pain-killing injections.
Yeah,
for the last 4 games of the finals. But this is a deal. He got kicked in the calf during a workout, actually before camp started. Went through the first practice, was like, hey, it doesn't feel great. It's tight. They had an MRI. Be reevaluated in a week. So he'll miss at least the preseason opener. I think it might feel better once 2 days are over. But we'll see how much he plays in the preseason, if at all. But there's zero concern about whether he will be ready to roll for the regular season opener. We talked Luka clearly wasn't just hanging out, sipping pivos. That's Slovenian for beer, one of the few Slovenian words I know. Sipping pivo from the time Slovenia got knocked out.
Was it Pravda? Prava? What's
Pravi?
Pravi, yeah.
And Havala. Thank you.
No, when he said the real MVP, he was the.
I know. Well, I'm telling you all the Slovenian words I know because I could say pivo.
Okay.
And I get one.
Let me ask you this. So now that the Mavericks are owned by the family that owns the Venetian and the Palazzo, how baller do you think the suite is that Luka has in Vegas during training camp? I mean, I'm sure Jason Kidd's room is very nice, but I am sure that the Luka Doncic accommodations in Vegas are quite pleasant.
I'm not going to say which hotel they're in, but it's actually not one of those, which is surprising. Anyways, so, Luka's it's not major injury news. He came back in good shape. He looks good. And so, that's
you think Luka is going to, this week, again, since he's Venetian family, he's going to take one of those gondolas that goes down the middle of the Venetian where he's serenaded. Can't you just see Luka just sitting back, going through the mall, enjoying that ride? I think it'd be terrific.
Listen, I don't know. I don't know if I'd be taking boating advice from you of all people.
You got that right, buddy. I'll tell you what, from evermore, when I'm getting on a boat, I'm looking like an 80-year-old man.
God.
All right. Well, I was with the Cavs.
By the way, though, real quick, Bontemps, you mentioned Andre Drummond is the best backup big man in the league.
One of them.
Okay, I was going to say certainly it appears it'll be Daniel Gafford as in the backup role for the Mavericks, and certainly I think he would want to throw his name in that hat.
I said one of at the time because that was the name I had in my head. Like that's probably the conference. I mean, I'm sure there's other guys I'm not immediately thinking of, but they're two of the very best for sure.